Today we are talking about mental health, resilience, how to stay connected in an increasingly busy and isolating world. Our guest is David Webb, who brings his unique perspective on mental and physical wellness. He served in the UK Royal Air Force, developed skills in resilience and leadership, and then moved into the world of professional football here in Dubai. Obviously, high-pressured environments, giving him some really valuable insights and the connection between mental and physical health. So, David, you're passionate about helping people, particularly men. And today we're breaking the stigma a little bit around mental health and creating some safe spaces for open conversations. You know, World Mental Health Day is approaching. We've got an event happening this weekend. David is a Lululemon ambassador, and there's the Together We Grow event happening on Saturday. So let's start with that. What does World Mental Health mean to you personally in that day in particular?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for inviting me on.
Pleasure.
It's a very big thing, especially when you go through your own journey and you really express the importance, not initially of mental health, but there's certain things that happen in your life that you then reflect on. You're like, wow.
The pieces start to fit together.
100%. And they start fitting together and you're like, okay, there's more to this than what I thought. Mm-hmm. And just really bringing an awareness to mental health in general. And there is a stigma behind it, but it's really about breaking that stigma and creating a space where people can talk and be vulnerable, but also respected with how they feel.
I think there's also a bit of misconception about mental health. You know, it's something that needs to be fixed, whereas a lot of what I understand you're passionate about is about mental wellness and, you know, even kind of preventing the point of burnout and breakdown. And that's even coming from, as I said, some really pressurised environments. Can we talk about your time in the Royal Air Force? You know, how did that help you develop mental toughness? And what happened on days when you're having to perform at a high level and maybe not even feeling mentally well enough to do that?
Absolutely. And one of the things the military do is they do it very early on, and they put you into sleepless nights. They sleep deprive you. They take away all the luxuries of rest and wellness to make you get better at coping with those demands. So when you're well rested, you're much more focused. You're much better at dealing with situations. And so what they do is really deprive that, and they're like, right, now what? Go on. And you have to find something deeper, and that's where resilience comes in. You've got no other option. You've got to get from A to B. There's no other way. So what are you going to find? And everyone has that. It takes time to find it and really dig deep.
It's funny, isn't it? Because David Goggins talks about kind of callousing the mind. You know, he talks a lot about this pushing yourself to the edge of your abilities and then you're tested. And I understand the value in that, especially when it can be a life or death situation. But that must be really damaging to an awful lot of people, and then readjusting to life where you aren't necessarily in danger or having to perform in threatening situations.
100%. And that's something that I really noticed. So from the military aspect is very mission based. So it's almost right, you've got to do this and you've got to do it in this time frame, and there's no other option. Whereas everyday life is very different. You've got to navigate it in different ways. There's different situations that come and go. And from a perspective of overwhelm, anxiety, and personal well-being, it is very, very hard. And it's almost, from a male perspective as well, you get the man up, get a grip, sort it out.
And do you feel like that's coming from other people, or is that messaging that you're hearing your own voice in your head in some situations?
It comes from somewhere initially, and then whatever you receive initially then becomes an experience that you tell yourself. So it depends on who you're surrounded by. You become. And in the military, if you're told there's no room for this, get a grip, man up, you consistently just tell yourself that until you realise, wow, just because I don't feel great doesn't mean I'm not a man.
That's really interesting, that, because we do live in a society, and I do think it's changing. I do, that we associate masculinity with emotional restraint. And that's really sad. Like, I mean, I'm bringing up daughters, but if I was bringing up young men, that would be such a priority for me as a parent, to be thinking, like, how can we equip them to deal with whatever might come their way and express themselves in whatever way they need to without fear of judgment or self-judgment.
100%. And there was a study done, and it said over 83% thought that people don't speak out because of the fear of judgment. But you'll get judged depending on the group you're in, which is why it's very important to look around you. Are these people you're around people you look up to, people who are vulnerable, or people who are so straight and set on a certain way?
Now, it was interesting because Lewis Hamilton recently spoke out saying that he's struggled with depression from a very early age. So what about that? What about celebrities using their platform to advocate for mental health, or even just saying, do you know what, I'm having a tough time?
Super important. And I think that's really, really relevant on social media. People put on social media what they want you to see.
Highlight reel.
100%. And, oh, this is great, this is great, this is great. No one goes on social media to go, oh, I've just had an argument, a deal's just fell through, life isn't great at the minute. People go, look at my fantastic life that I've got from 10 seconds today.
It's so funny. I actually posted that. I'm only laughing because yesterday I posted a video where I had literally just stopped crying because I was going through some school application stress. And the number of messages I had, people going, oh, thank you. And messages going, I thought I was the only one that found this overwhelming, or any advice, or you might want to try this. And I was like, God, by having like a real moment where, I mean, was it a flattering video, or did I look put together?
It was authentic.
No, but I was in a moment of going, God, I can't be the only one that's struggling with this. And this is a tiny example. This is something really not that important in the grand scheme of things, especially when we look at what's happening in the world. But
100%.
when people do show their real feelings, that's where real connections happen. But that's also where the real growth happens, if that makes sense.
100%. And it's only when you're in a state of vulnerability and acceptance and you're willing to explore what it feels like and why you feel that way.
It's so scary to do.
Very scary.
And it's a scary thing to be the first person to do that in a friendship group or in a professional environment. As I said, you're an ambassador in the fitness world with Lululemon, and I think that's really important that you're using that platform as a man.
Absolutely.
Do you feel like you have guys coming to you and, you know, looking at you and looking at your profile and going, you know, I see the muscles on social media, I see, you know, your professional successes, but thank you for being real?
Absolutely. And even more so now than ever. I used to put a facade on. I used to paint a picture where I can't show vulnerability because people come to me for help. So I can't show I'm not perfect.
Right.
But then people couldn't connect with me because they're like, wow, I'll never be like you.
And you're going, I wish
I'm
you
like,
knew what was
wow,
happening
you have
behind
no
the
idea.
scenes.
100%, like crying on the way to work, on the way to military work, upset, and watching YouTube videos on how to change my mindset. And every day is a learning day.
What does work for you then, if you don't mind me asking, David, when it comes to if you're having a tough day, or a tough week, or, you know, sometimes you said we look back and go, that was a really dark month, or
100%.
Yeah.
And one of the things for me is stress is going to happen because it keeps us alive. Stress is a human fundamental.
Not necessarily a bad thing.
It's important.
In the right amount.
100%. And what isn't, in my opinion, what isn't right is normalizing stress as a way of life. Yeah. Stress is a response for the body to go, right, something's not okay. And then it's not that I don't feel stress, but I've worked so hard on myself internally, and I work with my clients and communities to go, identify stress. What's caused the stress? Why has it caused the stress? How can I stop it from happening again?
Now, before you came into the studio, I hope you won't mind me
100%,
sharing
yeah.
this. You were doing some breathing, and I was like,
I was doing some weird things.
Were you? What was happening in the green room, David?
Absolutely. It was priming myself, and we all have the power to do that. So when you look at somebody who's confident, you don't see them with their head down and low energy and low voice. So out there, I was almost changing my physical state to then change my mental state to then change the actions that I do on here. So of course I'm nervous. Who isn't? It's something new for me, but it's like, right, prime to go, oh, here we go, let's go.
And this is what I can control in this moment.
Absolutely.
In studio, David Webb, we are talking this afternoon, as you've just been hearing, about his experience in the UK Royal Air Force. This is ahead of World Mental Health Day, a Lululemon event this weekend called Together We Grow. He is an ambassador for that brand, and we can talk a little bit about what's in store there. But up next, some more practical steps for you at home, in your car, whether you're stressed in traffic, you're having a tough time with your job, that you can do to improve your mental well-being. We're also going to be discussing the importance of that community, wellness initiatives, and what we can be doing this weekend and beyond to improve yours. Let me know what works for you. I'd love to hear that on 4001. You've got that app, of course, and the WhatsApp as well, which is 04871 5500. World Mental Health Day fast approaching. We are going to be looking at it from a number of angles over the coming weeks, from children to teachers. And today we're talking about the role of mental health when it comes to movement and fitness. In the studio, we've got David Webb. He is really passionate about helping people, particularly men, break the stigma around mental health, create safe spaces for these open conversations. This weekend, Lululemon's Together We Grow campaign is on. The event is happening. David is an ambassador. And having just been talking before about his experience in the military and the importance of sometimes being the first person to show up and say, I'm not okay. I want to ask a little bit about, and we don't need to get scientific about it, David, but what is the link between movement and exercise and our mood and mental health?
So as soon as you can change the physical, so whenever you do any movement, then you look at the hormones, how they're released. Straight away, if you change your physical state, you then get a release of serotonin, if we're not going into too much depth, but you get a hormone release which then creates more energy and almost this happy hormone. Then when you have a happy hormone, it's harder to think of the bad things. You're more thinking of, oh, I'm optimistic, I feel great. And then if you can back onto that with an action, you then create that reinforcement of a good habit loop. So that's why people kind of can relate to physical exercise, because it's easier to move. It's easier to move first, then change your mind, rather than change your mind, then move.
That's interesting, because do you want to know something that I find really, really annoying?
Come on, give me it.
It works.
It's
so annoying. It's so annoying because a number of fitness experts and doctors and psychologists I have in the studio, and it's all like talking about. And listen, I listened to an interview with LeBron James the other day talking about his number one hack for success is sleep. I can talk about sleep, happy days, not an issue. But when you get those pillars in place, the sleep, the movement, the diet, everything else feels so much more achievable. And the irony is, when you least feel like moving, it's probably when you need to do it the most. And the number of times I have dragged my sorry backside to an exercise class and been like, do you know what? If there's traffic at this traffic lights, it's a sign that I shouldn't go. Oh, maybe I shouldn't. I feel like I'm getting sick, and put all those excuses in my own way.
100%.
And when I finally actually get there and do it, I'm like, well, that worked. That was annoying.
Yeah.
It's so irritating.
You never have a bad workout. You never go, oh, I wish I never did that afterwards. Ever.
Now,
Ever.
What about those people listening going, yeah, but I'm scared about getting into the gym, or I've had an injury and I don't want to get injured again, or I just can't find my tribe. And I say this as someone who's been there, as someone who has been like the biggest and the weakest and the slowest in a group, and gym anxiety is real for a lot of people.
100%. And what I say to my guys that I work with within my community is, and on my coaching, is start at your level and don't put unrealistic targets on there. So many people go, right, I'm going to be a CrossFitter. People label themselves as something, and then when they do something else, they're like, oh, this is alien because I'm the CrossFitter, I'm the runner. Humans are made to move regardless, but we live in a world of so many labels that I'm the salesman, I'm the CrossFitter, I'm the runner, that when they do anything different, they feel like alienated.
Or like imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome. Oh, this isn't my crowd because I'm a runner.
And I think for me growing up, I was sporty at school and I wasn't for a really long time. It was only when I got to my late 30s, 40s that I started climbing mountains and just, as you say, kind of mixing it up and just moving.
Yeah.
That, again, I hear the cliche, I'm cringing as I say this, that you realise that actually exercise is a bit of a privilege because not everybody is able to do that, to move, to walk. And the thought of going into a CrossFit gym, and my husband's just got into it, I'm like, absolutely not. I'm sorry, these are not my people. What I can do is a beach walk on a Monday morning. What I can do is a spin class on a Thursday, and just have this pick and mix approach, because you're setting yourself up to fail. If you're like, I'm going to go to the gym 5 times a week and I'm going to be doing, pull-ups and burpees and da-da-da-da. You're on a
100%.
fast track to injury and you're probably going to spiral and never go back again.
Absolutely. And I'm going to do more of what I don't enjoy. Who's going to stick to that?
No one.
So find what you enjoy and do more of it.
So that brings us to this weekend. Lululemon's Together We Grow event happening Saturday morning. There's going to be thousands of people coming together for free classes, workshops. What's in store?
Absolutely. It's going to be incredible. So we've got run stations, we've got HIIT stations, we've got yoga stations, we've got a load of amazing vendors that are supporting the wellness community, and then obviously we've got the panel, so where we're going to discuss and unravel all things mental health to really help people navigate the best way for them.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's going to be a fantastic event.
Why do you think it's important to have community initiatives? Obviously, Dubai Fitness Challenge is coming up. We're lucky enough that there's all sorts of different free groups and this chance of connection. Why does being accountable and finding your tribe have such an important role in keeping that momentum going?
I think one thing Lululemon have done really well is it's a wellness community. So it's a full umbrella and it really supports mental, physical and social health. And when you find your community, you feel understood, you feel heard and you feel a part of something bigger, that takes away the loneliness. That allows more space for vulnerability and being open and being understood and heard. And as soon as everybody will have that feeling of when they have that, they feel accepted. Yeah. And that feeling of acceptance makes you want to come back.
Especially when you're in an expat community and you might be new, or you might have had friends that have left, or you're having an identity change or career crossroads. It's absolutely crucial. We've only got a minute left. What's your personal mission? And for anyone listening today, how can people work with you to help them, realise their wellness in the best possible way?
So my personal mission from many years of experience of ups, downs, lefts and rights is to help the uncommon human, to help the common human live an uncommon life through daily awareness of thoughts, feelings, and actions. So really helping them navigate how they feel, why they feel, and what can I do to change and make a positive change, but not a quick fix.
Yeah.
Make a long-lasting change to a happier and healthier life.
More sustainable, more realistic.
100%. And for more information, they follow me on the David Webb on Instagram.
That's what I was about to say. So if you want to send me the word, what should we say? Send me the word well. We will send you David's Instagram so you can find out more, which in itself is a great resource. You know, lots of advice on there, lots of insights, and lots of, you know, ways of getting involved, but also to connect with you if you're thinking, do you know what, I do need a helping hand. I need a fresh perspective. And you've got a link in your bio for the event that's happening this weekend as well, right?
Absolutely.
David Webb, thank you so much. Really appreciate your insights. And happy World Mental Health Day. You're a shining light. I'm glad you're in town.
Your ARN News.